Well, now you know what they do. Every Saturday, they're down here all day, all the different age group practicing, getting ready for this. If you think that's great, you really, honestly, you just need to come out. It's going to be super, super good. Well, this morning we get a treat, and really, I do consider it just really, really special. I've been after this guy for a while to get up and share with us because I know in his heart he has so much and so many good things to share. Those of you who never got a chance to be around Tim and Roxy, they're our youth leaders, our youth pastor, for all of our youth. For those of you that have young people in youth ministry, and they come out every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, right over here in our youth building. If you don't have any kids out coming out, you need to come out. It's just great. They're getting ministered to every Wednesday night, just right there where they're at. And Tim is the guy, and Roxy, and all of those who are involved. Ryan helps out with our youth ministry, and it's just really, really awesome. But I've been after Tim for a long time to come and share, and God finally nudged him. And I think he has something really great to share with us today. So please help me this morning. Give a great round of applause and welcome to Tim Herring as he comes to share today.
All right. Well, I don't know if we'll see at the end if the round of applause was worth it. So yeah, if you guys have to use the restroom, go ahead and go. Don't play on your phone. Oh, not youth group, darn it. You know, a lot of you guys have youth in here, so you know what I mean. You know, trying to get their attention away from this, and then when I'm teaching the lesson, half the time they're doing this, looking down. I go, they're not laughing about my lesson. They're laughing about whoever they're talking to. But yes, I am the youth pastor, not an ordained minister or pastor or anything like that. So anything I say, hold it against Pastor Andrew, not me. Yeah, so this lesson, it's something that it actually came from a song. So I've been listening to this song for a few months now, and you guys probably know it as well. And I asked Alyssa, I said, hey, you know, what if we put this song into our worship group, and we can see which key it goes in and see how our group does and find our style of this song. And Alyssa goes, I love that song, but it really wouldn't mean a lot without some education. And immediately it was like God was in the room with me, almost shoved me out of my seat, like, there you go, dude, there's your lesson. So in the same breath, I text Pastor Andrew, and I said, hey, here's what I'm feeling as I'm being pushed to do. What do you think? He goes, I think that's excellent. So had the plan worked perfectly, I could have brought this message on the same day that we brought the song, but timing and things like that, it's not my timing, it's God's timing, so we got to, flow with what he's moving in. The word that I want to bring is actually one of the names for God. So we've got God, we've got the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It's neither one of those, but it's in the old Israelites used to have different names for what they called upon God for according to what their prayer was. So this one in particular, you guys have probably heard, is Jireh. So Jehovah Jireh. Jehovah just means God. Jireh means will provide. So this is the God that will provide. And so that's your first fill in the blank there, is Jehovah Jireh just simply means God will provide. I've got some other names listed there. It was kind of fun this morning. We had some fun butchering them. El Shaddai, the Lord Almighty, the all-sufficient one. Jehovah Nessi, which is the Lord is my banner. Adonai, Lord Master. So there's a few in there, but it's important. Yeah, Ryan, you can just put them all up there if you want. It's important to know who you're praying to, and that's kind of, the kids know me. I'm sometimes a little bit particular about the way that I say things or the words that I put, because I think that words are important. We say that the name of God has power in it. Well, is it the name of God? Is it the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy? Where's the power at? And I think that sometimes we see that in just general speech. The power is in the specific nature of the word that you say. So when you pray to the God that you want provision for, you're praying to Jehovah Jireh. So it's important to know who he is and what that name is. Now, Google doesn't know a whole lot, because I looked this up and I said, how many names are there for God? One immediate link said 7, the other one said 16, and I've found plenty more than that over the 16. So I'm not sure, unless we went back 2,000 years, how many names we can actually find that they called God, but they were very specific in whom which they were praying to. I wanted to give you an example of that. So we use Jesus Christ as our example of how to live our life and what to do. Even though he was the Son of God, he didn't pray in a vague term. So if we go over to Mark chapter 14, verse 36, you can see there how it's, I'll let you get over there if you want. And I'm reading out of the ESV, so if it doesn't match up perfect, that's okay. And this is Jesus speaking, and he said, Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Remove this cup from me, yet not what I will, but what you will. So this is a story of when he's praying in Gethsemane, and he knows that he's going to be crucified. He knows he's going to be beaten. Jesus knew full well exactly how he would have his life taken. And he's going, if there's another way. I think that's pretty honest of any of us that we would do that. But I want to show you the importance here of that word Abba. If you go back, Abba, Father, is not, hey, Dad. How many dads we got in the room? So you guys kind of know, right? When a kiddo comes up and says, Dad, what do you want? Right? $20, the car keys, depending on the age. And then there's, hey, Dad. And then there's that when you walk maybe in the room into school or something, go, that's my dad, where they're proud of you, right? There's all these different things, but what we all run to is when somebody goes, Daddy! We jump up and we run and go, what's going on? Now, my little one can't talk yet, but it's funny that I've actually learned exactly. I've learned the different cries. I've learned the different cries where I'm just whining because I want something or I'm tired. But there is that cry where I turn the corner and, she somehow got her leg stuck in here and she's bent over backwards. You can tell because that's who you are. You're a dad. That's what Jesus is saying here. He's crying out saying, Daddy, I don't want to do this. If there is any other way. And so that's why for me, Jesus showed me it's important to know who I'm praying to. It not only put the Father in a position that he knew his Son was crying out to him, that he needed him, and he was begging if there's any other way. But the end of the verse also shows that not even Jesus was above knowing that the Father's in charge. And so it puts you in a retrospect that you know he's here and I'm here. It makes that translation a little bit easier. So as you're praying, we're lifting those things up, but we're also going to receive what he gives. So I thought that was important to kind of put that out there to show that that is what our Jesus shows us how to pray in the words that he uses. So the second fill-in that you guys have there, speaking specifically in prayer aligns us in proper perspective with who we're addressing and is a reflection of what's going on in our heart. So when we pray to Jireh, when we cry out, Daddy, it's not only showing God what we need from him, and we're being very transparent and honest, but it also shows ourselves, this is my heart, this is where I'm coming from, this is where I'm praying from there. And I think that's important, It's a huge blessing to be able to go straight to the Father. We don't have to go to a priest. We don't have to go in a special room. We don't have to wash in a special way. So we need to still show reverence to that as we go to him. We're going to move into a different spot as far as God that will provide. So God that provides everything from the breath we breathe to the homes we live in to the things that we have, seen and unseen things he provides. I want to kind of move into a different spot so we can see how we should be praying to this God and what we need. Anybody in the room play the what if game in their life? Yeah? So you can play a couple of different what if games. There's a group of guys here that we actually play a what if game for training purposes. What if somebody falls down and has a heart attack? I need to know what to do. That's a real what if. What if there's a huge car accident in front of me? That means maybe you click that buckle and buckle up. There's good what ifs in life. There's planning ahead. There's being an intelligent person and doing that. But the what ifs I want to talk about is the what ifs that, well, for me, usually happen in the end of the night. Everybody's gone to bed. Everything's taken care of. And you lay your head down and go, man, I'm whooped, right? You almost can't keep your eyes open, tired. And then you lay down in bed and then, what if? What if I lose my job? What if my wife leaves me? What if my kid gets sick? What if my mom and dad? What if? Right? We all think those things. And then it gets into this. We're not doing enough. Because you know what? If I do more at my job, then I can't lose my job. If I just take better care of my body and this and that, then I'll never die. No. If I just do this, then this. No. So we automatically take it, especially men, we want to fix, we want to provide, we want to store up so much, like a squirrel might, for the winter, that we don't have to worry. Truth is, that's a lie. So your next fill in there, in parentheses, the lie is you're not enough. So I want to get out real quick, and I know telling you guys to keep your cell phones away, and here's mine. But I wanted to read to you guys just a couple of lines from this song, and this is why it kind of made sense to me. So this song, Jireh, that's the title of it. So if you guys haven't heard it, man, when you get in the car, maybe look up a nice version of it and play it. I love it for my own personal worship, but the song goes and starts like this. It says, I'll never be more loved than I am right now. I wasn't holding you up, so there's nothing I can do to let you down. I think that's where I fell in love with the song, is that I've heard your youth, and I've heard adults say the same thing. Yeah, I just got to get some things straight, and then I'll get back in church. You know, and whatever it is, you know, everybody's got what they think is the worst sin in the world, but I just got some things to get figured out, and then I'll jump back in. So the lie is this, and it's not blatant, it's not loud, it's not aggressive, because here's the deal. If the lion prowling to steal, kill, and destroy would just come out and say, you suck, we'd go, that's from the devil. You're not good enough, and this and that, and just scream it from the mountaintops, we'd go, no, my God tells me that's not true. Instead, it's really subtle, guys. You know, the way you talk at work, God doesn't take guys like that. You know, whatever you're looking at on a site or this or that, God's not going to take that. You know, personally, you're just kind of a slob. You got to lose 10 pounds. You got to make more money. Nobody wants a guy that just has an entry-level job like yours. But it's these very subtle things that we let our mind hear. Yeah, maybe I'm not enough. Maybe I'm not providing enough. Maybe I'm not stable enough. And so we let that kind of run around in our mind, and then we decide we have to do. Because this thing too, man, for those of you who have kids, and maybe it's hard for you too, it's teaching them. How many hours a day is your kid's phone on and in their eyes, than how many hours compared that you're talking to them? It's important. Because I know for these kids, if they always laugh at me. I know you guys, Facebook is old guy stuff, but whatever. Facebook, Instagram, now it's TikTok and Twitter and Snapchat, and did I miss any, Sergio? No, I got them all? Okay. I always check these guys, thank you. But they've got all these things, and if you look through these guys, if you're parents and you don't have them, get them, just so you know what's going on out there. But what happens is this. You just slide through images of the guy's got a brand new Maserati, and the next guy's got a chiseled like 8-pack. And then the girl he's with should have been on the model of the magazine last month, and they're going up to their mansion, which is just gorgeous, and then the food they're eating is like made by a professional chef, but the calories are so low because that's what it's about, right? That's successful. I'm not kidding. You scroll through that thing for 20 minutes, you're like, I am a loser. I'm going home. Like, I have to bring myself back and go, that's not real. And the thing that I appreciate is that there's a lot of, very rich and famous folks out there that will be honest. And they'll get on their social media and say, hey, this is not real. I have to deal with struggles. I might have millions and millions of dollars. I still have problems. And nobody can say that they've arrived. Because if you really talk to some of the most successful, by the world's view, and maybe wealthy, they'll tell you it's never enough. Professional ball player, just saw the other day, was saying, if you're chasing money, it's never enough. If you're chasing cars, it's never enough. If you're chasing women, it's never enough. If you're chasing homes, it's never enough. So what are you defining as your level of success? The truth is, the world screams the same thing that we're supposed to live up to. You need to live up to your full potential. But the world says it looks like this, and God says something different. And it's something different for everybody. And that's the cool thing about our dad, is that our dad doesn't say you have to be just like him and she has to be just like you. He knows each individual heart and what you're capable of. But the toughest part is finding out who's moving you. So the God that provides always provides. Amen? And he's always provided, and he always never left you hanging. But what about that time where you prayed unceasingly? And what about that time where you were faithful and you stayed up nights in tears, heartbroken? Maybe it was a relationship. Maybe it was your marriage. Maybe it was financial. Maybe it was about a child. And it didn't turn up the way you wanted it to. See, that's where we get confused as humans, that, well, God left me hanging. There's something else there. Paul, in prison, God left him hanging, right? No. God allowed him to go to that prison. God allowed him to show that he can still do work even from behind bars. God showed him, I'm going to have Paul imprisoned And I can't imagine prisons were really lavish back then. I don't think it's like those 3 square meals and go play basketball in the yard and maybe put on a couple pounds of muscle. I got to imagine like sitting in a box. And yet still Paul is writing to this church and that church and this apostle and encouraging them even though where he's at. So do you see where it's not about your position, it's about your perspective. So that's what Paul's getting at there. I saw something, and this is what prompted me to say this. If anybody is in charge of somebody, whether it be a parent, a mentor, somebody who volunteers in any facet, and somebody comes to you and says, I'm not okay. Whatever the problem is, whether it be something that they're dealing with that's just in their heart, their mind, maybe it's a relationship, because any of you guys who got girls out there, holy smokes, man. Sometimes your girls come in, I'm like, what's wrong? And then I don't want to know. But they have, they've got emotions, and they got real high emotions. But if somebody comes to you and says, I'm not okay, don't tell them, hey, you're okay. It's going to be okay. That is about the silliest thing that we can tell each other. The truth is they're not okay. They just told you they're not okay. But what you need to help people understand is that some things are meant to be endured. The trials of this life are meant to be endured. So sometimes what we have to do is help somebody change their perspective while staying in the same position, right? So that's your fourth fill in there, is that something has to change, but it might not be the situation. It may be my position. So let's look at some old-timer stuff. And I don't mean like you guys with the white hair. I mean like old-timer. Let's look at Jireh providing back in Exodus 16, 1 through 6. So this is when the Israelites are coming out of Egypt. So, and then we had fun with these names earlier. They set out from someplace, Elim, let's call it. And all the congregation of the people of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month, after all had departed the land of Egypt, and a whole congregation of people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron. Now, I got to imagine with this, too, I kind of put myself in the perspective, this is not like our Tonto National Forest desert. It's probably like just arid, dry, no water, no life, nothing, just going through the desert. And so these guys are grumbling, and they said, man, we should have just died. We should have died back there in Egypt where the meat pots were full and we ate bread till we were full, and then you've brought me into this wilderness to kill the whole assembly of us with hunger. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Then the Lord said to Moses, now that's them actually saying, I'm not okay, by the way, if you want to make the connection. Then the Lord said to Moses, behold, I'm about to rain bread from heaven on you, and the people shall go out, and they shall gather a day's portion every day, so that I may test them, whether they're going to walk by my law or not. Now on the 6th day, when they prepare what they're going to bring, it will be twice as much as they gather daily. So then Moses and Aaron, you can say to the people of Israel, at evening you shall know that it was the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Anybody familiar with this movie? This is kind of what I imagine. I imagine Moses out there like, double bacon cheeseburger. But, they didn't have that back then, so that's our modern day manna from heaven. I thought you guys would think that was funny. But, what's that? What about the fries? And that's the funny thing is that I've got a dog, and I always wonder, man, do you get tired of eating the same thing every day? And that's, if you read later on in the story in Exodus, they grumble about that. We've been eating nothing but manna from heaven for days. And so, even in that, it shows that we can grumble about things that are truly amazing. I mean, other than in this movie, which is kind of silly, I've never seen that. Never seen food fall from the sky, literally providing sustenance out of nowhere for days and days on end, for years and years on end. And yet these folks have still found something to grumble about. Well, this is kind of stale and it kind of stinks. So it's who we are as people. It's just what we do. But on the real side, I want to ask you guys, the junior high and high school kids, it's fun when you ask them a question. And I usually raise my hand first, just because I think it makes people feel more comfortable. Go, hey, anybody ever done this? And I leave my hand up there. But you should watch those kids go, is anybody else? Yeah, I guess. I mean, kind of, yeah, sort of. And I'm like, how many hands are up there? Like, oh, gosh, I was just scratching my head. Because they're deathly afraid of being the only one. So I won't make you guys do that either. But just think to yourself, and if you want to raise your hand, you raise your hand. Because my hand can go up on just about all this. When I think back at the times that I called on God and I didn't know who I was speaking to, this Jireh, any times you didn't have the money to pay your bills? I know we were just talking about tithing and how somehow we still have the money. Maybe you didn't have the desire to even get out of bed. Maybe you're dealing with something that is just a super struggle. Maybe it's your finance. Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's your mental health. Maybe it's your marriage, which affects your mental health. Maybe it's one of your kids that's just struggling with something that you're just, man. And there's some times that we can't draw enough from our body to even want to get up. Anybody ever been there? You don't have to raise your hands. I've been there. And I think that if I was honest, I would say that I know that you've all been there. Raising your hands or not, the one thing I've learned throughout my life, which isn't very long, is that the things that I think I'm a solo, standalone, I'm the only one that deals with this guy, man, was I wrong. And so if you ever feel that way, I want you guys to know, just shoot a hand up and say, hey, anybody give me some help with this? That's a personal note. But I want you to realize that Jehovah Jireh doesn't provide, generally, through manna from heaven, okay? Usually when you ask for something, he doesn't drop a sack of money. He doesn't have your kid clean up their act in a day. He doesn't, cause your boss to have a change of heart that he just gives you that promotion that you weren't even up for. It's not usually how it happens. It might happen through a song. It might happen through another body of, the member of this church. It might happen from somebody in your family, but God will provide what you need. He doesn't say, and back to Exodus, he doesn't say I'm going to provide over and abundantly for the rest of the month. He says, I'm going to provide what you need today. And that's a test of you. Are you going to live by my law? And then when we show God, I'm willing to be faithful. I'm willing to understand where we're at. I'm willing to put myself in perspective that maybe this is a trial you want to allow me to go through. Think about the story of Job, guys. I don't have time to go into the story of Job, but if you know Job's story, went from being one of the wealthiest guys at that time in the land to having nothing. But that was what God had allowed Satan to do, was you can take everything but the man's life to show that he truly loved God for who he was, not for what he had. So, as we kind of wrap towards a close, guys, I want to bring up a couple of points that I want you to understand. I know, she's so sweet. We've got the proof. We've got the proof in the Bible. We've got the proof in our own personal lives. We have the proof of what makes our God that God. And yet, somehow, we still struggle to know what we're supposed to do. And this is the toughest part that I found about reading this lesson. Is it wrong to want a promotion at work? No. Is it wrong to want a kid to get out of, the rough spot they're in? Is it wrong to want to have a better marriage? Is it wrong to want a more healthy savings so we don't have to worry? Hey, Pastor Andrew, you want to triple the size of this church, the body, the building, the everything? Absolutely. I want to reach tons more people than we're reaching today. And if there's any way to do that, that's what we want. But the hardest part to understand is that desire from me or from God? So the one verse that I could find that kind of summed it up, and this is the best comparison I could try to give you, is Philippians 1:21. And it's where Paul said, for me to live is Christ, but to die is gain. Now don't be fooled by the verse. To live as Christ means service. It's hard work. Okay? The guys that you see that serve in here and the ladies that are here early, that stay late, that clean up, that do all this service, it's not easy. Especially not when you do it week after week and day after day. Some of these folks got full-time jobs, families that they're still doing that with. But to live as Christ means this. God, I'm maybe not in the house I want. Maybe not in the family that I want at some points, kids. I know I've been there. Why do I have to be born in this family? I used to tick my mom off when I said that, that's for sure. But you can be unhappy with where you're at, maybe in the home, in the finances, in your walk, in all these different things. But the difference comes from the perspective, like we were talking about, that reflection of the heart, where you can step back and say, but, not my will, but yours be done, Lord. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to work this job, even under this crummy boss. I'm going to love my spouse, even though. I'm going to pray for that kid, even though. And all those things, despite all that, I'm still going to do the work that you have for me to do. But if it be your will, here's my desires, God. My desire is that I would have more time to minister. My desire is that I could find a way to communicate and love that person more. My desire is that I had more of this so that I could do this with it. See, it's generally the heart that speaks what we're asking for. Because God, I tell you in my experience, doesn't usually answer those prayers with a, yeah, you got it. God, I really want a six-pack so I look like that guy, and I want that car because that looks cool. doesn't usually come back, you got it, Tim. No. It usually comes back like, come on, man, what are you really pushing for? Because that, again, shows a reflection of the heart. We want to be followers and servants of Christ. And generally, when we align those two things, it's like magic. I can tell you that I've had times where I'm just going to trust you, Lord. I'm going to put this money in your hands. And, you know, Scott Ranny, to this day, one of the coolest things the guy ever said to me when I was early here at this church, I said, you know, we were in a small group. I said, Scott, it's really neat to see what God does with the 10% when you tithe. And he goes, you know what's really cool? Is seeing what he does with the 90% he leaves with you. And I went, dang, you're right. The 10% is just that's what you're supposed to do. But the 90% is my extra time. So I go to work. I have a family. I'm supposed to do all these things. But with the extra that I have, am I watching TV, playing video games, going to hustle for myself to get things that I want, or am I giving it back? So if you're struggling with your current position, you're going to have to pray, God, don't let me be complacent, but let me be content. Don't let me stay stagnant if you tell me to go, but let me hold tight and hold fast if you're saying to stay. And the only way that you can do that is being in direct communion with God often. Because I tell you what, if you can't hear his voice, if you don't leave time to hear his voice, if you don't read his word, it's going to be you. You're going to be saying, oh, I need to go do this, and I need to go do that because I feel led. Well, good for you. You're leading yourself. But I desperately want to be led by the Lord, and I want to be led by the Lord Jireh because I know that the Lord who gives can give through me. And this is the time of year where we like to do that and focus on that. But I encourage you guys, listen to that song, research who this God is that we serve, and be those hands that go and be those feet that are willing to do the work that the Lord's called us to do. So that's what I have for you guys this morning. The Lord really laid that on my heart that I needed to share one of the names of who he is and what that truth is. I didn't really want to, be quite honest. And that's another way to tell. If you're wondering if it's God telling you to go or not, you'll probably not want to go sometimes. Truthfully. Hey, Tim, I want you to get up on Sunday and talk, and I know you've never done it, but you should go. That's how you know it's God. So, anyways, I think we're going to have Andrew come up here and close in prayer, and we'll get you guys dismissed. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. Let me share with you.
Good word, dude. Good word. Good word. All right, let's stand together. Thank you. Once again, I encourage you, if you don't have your kids out in our youth ministry, our youth group on Wednesday nights, get them out there.